Hello and welcome to Wikipedia Weekly Network, where me and Albin Larsson are doing live editing of Wikidata. My name is Jan Ainali. Hello, Albin. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing great. Got a lovely weather here, but I'm still excited about doing some visualizations on Wikidata. How about you, Jan?
I'm also great. And it's great today because it's a sort of special edition. We're doing another episode for HACK4OPENGLAM.
Yes.
So we will be focusing, of course, on different kind of GLAM topics today, on various things. I'm gonna show off some maps, I think. And what are you gonna show?
I'm thinking timelines. So we got maps, timelines, just to visualize the content in Wikidata.
All right. And for everyone who don't know yet or have found it, so this is the place where we're gonna hang out today, wikidata.org. But I hope you already knew that. But I'm actually going to start on this site, query.wikidata.org, which is a place where you actually can query stuff in Wikidata. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start sharing my screen here and we'll see what we can find out. Oh, so this is the Wikidata site. And I'm going to hang out here on the query service. And it's sort of sometimes a little bit of a tricky thing writing queries because it might be unusual, but there are a lot of good examples which you can find here where you can start. But I'm going to take it real slow here and show off some features from the query tool, because one of the greatest things about it is that it has some sort of autocomplete, which helps you a lot. But the tricky thing is, where do I start? So you need to know that you want to do something. And what you're actually doing is you want to select something. So that's where you have to start. So I'm lazy. I'm just starting writing SEL. And then the trick is press Control and Spacebar to show the autocomplete function. And here I can just go with the select command, but I'm going to use this one. Oh, didn't click on it. Or rather, I clicked on it in the wrong window. There, and it just pops in the code. So this is the basics of a query. So this will select everything for a certain condition. And since this is for GLAMs, I'm going to show off things that are in some sort of museum collection. I think that will be useful for many of you. And you can try your own collection or your own museum or someone else's. So that's going to be the basics. And first you set, like, what do you want to select? So I'm going to use item for a variable name. It's a common one in the Wikidata world because Wikidata consists of items. But you can call this whatever you want. So I could at least go with painting. It doesn't really matter. But I'm not sure if I'm actually going to find paintings or sculptures or other things. So I'm going to be a bit more generic here. So let's go with item. And here's another tricky thing, which you will have to learn or watch the examples to figure out. And that's where, for setting up the things that you want to select, you select that from some sort of property. And they are prefixed with WTDT, which stands for Wikidata Truthy. And you don't need to really know why. It picks the good thing here. And then you go with a colon. And then you actually add your property. And this query service really wants the property number, but you don't need to remember that because we have the autocomplete and search here as well. So let's try collection. So I'll start write col and press Control Spacebar. And I get a few things, but the second one in the list here, collection art museum, that's exactly what I want. And you can see in the parentheses here, it says P195. And when I click here, it will swap it. So I just need to know I want something like a collection, and it will add the numbers for me. So the item should be in the collection of some museum. And since me and Albin are from Sweden, we're going to go with some large Swedish museum here. So, and then there's another prefix here which you need to learn, which is just WD for Wikidata. And I'll go with our national museum. Do you think that's a good one, Albin?
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
So let's go.
Especially if we want paintings, as we have hinted.
Yeah. And of course, we have many national thing here. So let's keep typing. There we go. Nationalmuseum in Swedish. Art Museum in Stockholm. So, and it swaps that for a number. And this is actually more or less, this is a basic query. I have put in some sort of condition here. So I'm just going to press the play button here to see what we get. And it's going to take a few seconds, not that many. And say,
plenty.
7,000 results something. And it took me 1.3 seconds. However, this is not that useful. I get the Wikidata labels, but I don't really see what it is here. So we're going to add a little service here to get the names.
Right.
And I'll start write service. And this you can find in almost all the examples. It's a heavily used service. And it adds a long string here, even too long for my screen when I'm zoomed in like this. I'm going to switch here because I have English in my user interface right now. So we'll take English. But also, since this is the Swedish museum, I'm pretty certain there will be a lot of Swedish labels here. So this will give us first the label in English and then the Swedish one. And the label is sort of the name of the item. But now this will not automatically pop in here because this star will not do it. So now I'll actually have to select item and then add a label here to let it do its magic. So let's run that again and see what happens. So it should be the same amount, 7,885. Took me 0.2 more seconds. And now we have something that we can actually see here. Oh, this one is a nice one. After the holding Visby to ransom. Mostly because me and Albin both have lived in Visby for a while. So now we want to put this on a map somehow. That's my goal. And to do that, I'm thinking what would be interesting is to see, like the Valdemar Atterdag holding Visby to ransom, because that's one is in Visby, so we should be able to get that onto a map. So what it depicts that I want to select. So we can go like this and say the item we start writing depict and select that and see what's here. And then what I want to depict, I don't know. So I want to select everything. And I also want to see what it selects. So I'm going to assign this to a new variable. And you can, of course, call it whatever you want. But to be easy to remember for myself, I'm going to call it depicted. So that's a good start. I could run this now, but I'm going to, let's do it. Because this is going to narrow it down. Because now I'm actually going to drop out everything that has things that are not depicted. Of course, something is depicted. It's just not added to Wikidata yet. So let's see how much we lose from our 7,885 going down with depicted here. There we go to 5,000. So we're dropping almost 2,800 here.
That's still quite good.
Still quite good, yeah. All right. So let's try to dig into the good stuff with the map here. So I want the thing that was depicted, and I love this. I'm just starting typing question mark, and it gives me this options here. And of course, this is another property we want to choose, select for. And it's called something with coordinates, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to try starting right a chord.
Right.
It's coordinate location. All right. So I didn't even know. I use this all the time, but I didn't even know the ending of it. So that's good. And as before, I don't care where in the world this is. I just want them all. So I'll assign this to something I can just call chord. And now it's probably we're going to lose even more, because first we had everyone with depicted, but now only those that also have coordinates. So let's press play here. Oh, only 147. So we lost almost 5,000 there, but still a few. And
Indeed.
we still have Valdemar Atterdag holding Visby to ransom. So, but this is a boring table. I promised you maps. So where do you find the map thing? And it's a little bit hidden, this little treasure in the query service. But under this eye, you can see here, and it's gonna give you a few things to choose from. But unfortunately, map is grayed out. What did I do wrong? Let's scroll up back.
You didn't select the coordinate.
I just assigned it there, but I didn't select it. That's quite often happens that you know you want to go do something, you add it in your actually conditions clause, but you don't select it. And this shouldn't change the results of the query more than it's going to be an extra table here, or column. And here we see we have some coordinates. And let's go to the eye here again. And of course, now map shows up because this tool knows that I have something to work with. And it has to render it a little bit. And all right. That's pretty awesome. We have things from more or less entire Europe. Not all of it, but then we can see here is probably, oh, we have several in Visby. Oh, we have view for Visby wall, the wall of Visby. And this one should be, oh, we have even more. There we have that one. So several things in there. Let's see if I can.
I think there are 2 points on top of each orchard.
They're a little bit different.
Yeah.
Here, so, yeah. And,
one of them is Visby, I assume.
Yeah, and the other one is the main
square.
Yeah. All right, and we can look around. I saw we had something from Iceland. It says the Icelandic coast, but I guess this is the coordinate for Iceland, the country.
Yeah.
So sometimes you see you can go in and improve some of these if you happen to know them. A summer evening by Kalkön. We have something here. Yeah, Vittra Narva, of course.
Yeah.
In the museum. I just realized, since most of these are paintings, it would be nice if we could also add the images here. So
yeah.
I'm going to scroll back up. And of course, now I'm mostly, I want to add the images if there are none. But I don't want to cut anything out from my only 147. So then there's a keyword for that, and it's called optional. So, which means that if there's something in this clause, then show it. But if it's not, don't remove results that doesn't fulfill this. And we'll go with the depicted one. Should have another property called image, which is PAT.
Do you want the depicted one, or do you want the item itself, the painting?
Yes. No, yes,
No.
I don't want. That's a very good thing. Maybe later I want to depict it now one, but for now,
Okay.
you're right. Let's go with just the item here. And assign that to some image, and don't make the same mistake as last time. Actually add it up here as well. So now the result should be exactly the same number, 147. And we see that quite a lot of them do have images.
Indeed.
One that doesn't there, but yeah, quite a lot. So this would be nice. So let's go to the map here again. Oh, and now I also have it recognized it has images to work with, so we can just show it in an image grid. Let's see how that will look like. I'm a little bit zoomed in now, so the grid is it adjusts to your window, but this was pretty nice. And here we have the Visby painting again. All right. So, but I want to show you another trick here, because now you have to go to this little thing to change. But what if you want to share this query with someone and you want them to get the map immediately and not the boring table? Then we'll go up first here and we'll add something. And I think, no, that won't do it. So I'll have to start with a hashtag here to get a few sorts of default views here. And the first one is the map that I want. And with this, I can just run it. And it should show me this one. And now if I press something here, it pops up. And if I want to share this with my friends, I can just go to this link and press short URL. And that's the one that will take them to this result immediately. And then they can, of course, build upon this as well. So if you're following along this, you could just go to this w.wiki/HB and you'll go straight to the query that I just designed and play with it yourself. But we promised some editing as well. Let's see if I can get to some editing. So what I'm going to try to do here is, well, we can have this here. But this depicted thing, or rather coordinates, I'm interested in things that are missing coordinates, but because I think perhaps we can add some and get more things to pop up. So I'm going to hide them. So instead of selecting them, I'm actually deselecting them. So I'm turning this into a minus. So everything that was depicted but doesn't have anything. And press play and see what will turn up. Oh, and now it's actually saying unable to display result. Yes, because I just said it shouldn't have coordinates. So I'm going to remove the default view map here and go back to the regular one. And of course, the column for chord should be empty. If there's something in there, there's something strange going on. But no, yes, they are empty here. And I'm going to see here if there's something in these labels that suggests to me that I could probably add some. No, actually, I'm going to add something more here first, because this is just the names of the paintings. That will not suggest anything. So I'll have to select here up also the depicted thing. I'll add the depicted, and also exactly like I did with item, depicted label to get the name of it instead of just the Wikidata item. And we'll have to think a little bit more. And as soon as my browser, yes, there. So we have here's the column, and I'm gonna see if there's something here that either if there's something missing there, because then I can easily go in and add a label, or if there's something that could have a coordinate.
A lot of people in there.
A lot of people, and of course they usually don't have coordinates.
Indeed.
Yes, a lot of people. So these are probably correct, and then we have some generic things. Also, if I see something that's obviously in Swedish, I could go in and add the English label for it if I know it. Nothing here. And as I have cheated a little bit, so I've already run this query before and scrolled through, and it's not until page 4 it actually turns up something. So the first 1,500 items were really good. So here, now let's see on page 4 here. I expect we'll find something here. That a lot of horses. And if you're good at horses, you might be able to go in and change the generic horse for what kind of horse it is, but I'm not that good with that. But that's an easy thing you could improve if it's possible to even see it.
It looks like most of the horses are from paintings of battles.
Ah, yes.
I saw a lot of horses in the same paintings.
Yeah, so someone could have added them, and then also the coordinates in the image where they appear. So we'll get a lot of them.
Yeah. And while Jan scrolls here, I would say that you can also drop a comment on YouTube and we will see it. So we can actually answer it directly as we see it. Works for other platforms as well. I know we're streaming to at least Facebook and Twitch as well.
Yes, I think so. And Periscope.
And Periscope.
Oh, and maybe me adding, because I didn't have the images here before, maybe that changed the order, so it's not on page 4 anymore. I was so happy to actually find something that I could edit. Ah, here we have something. Here we see something suspicious. Q355408. So what is that? So I'll control click that one to open it in a new tab. And all right, no label in English or Swedish. In French, we see it's a grape picker. I don't know French. I looked this up before, so I cannot. And if someone knows French and says this is not a grape picker, now is a good time to mention it to me before I'm actually editing it, or I can revert it very soon. So that's the good thing with Wikidata, that even if I'm adding something now, it can always be reverted if it's what's wrong, if I make a typo or something like that. But for now, I'm actually going to say this is a grape picker. And in Swedish, I'm going to call this druvplockare. Person who picks grapes. Not the best, but of course this is a fairly self-descriptive thing. So the first one is the label, the other one is the description that sort of should help you disambiguate this from other things. But we also have this also known as, and I'm going to add something here in Swedish, but because I think you could call this
right.
Someone might start with that and expect. That's a longer word for grape in Swedish. All right, so I'll just wrote some things in here and I'll press publish. Now I was logged in while doing this, but you can also edit Wikidata not being logged in. And we can check the history here now to see added them as several different edits, but they're all in here attributed to my account. Let's just quickly see if I can improve this somewhere else. We have an image here. Field of this occupation, harvest. It gives a warning here. Harvest practiced by grape picker? Yes, sort of. I think that's probably right. Oh, yes. So we didn't have a subclass here. So we'll add that. That's going to make it pop up in all sort of queries. That's going to be a great improvement. So I'm going to add a new statement, and it's going to suggest me some properties to go for. So I'm going to go for a subclass here, because this is sort of you might think there are different kinds of grape pickers, so they could also have things underneath it. And this would be a type of occupation, profession even. Let's keep writing here. I'm not sold yet. What would you go, profession or occupation?
Occupation, I imagine.
Yeah, it seems more something you do it in the fall when you actually pick grapes. You don't pick grapes all year round.
Exactly. It's like sports usually. It's usually occupation.
Yep. So that's improving it. Let's see. I have a little thing here installed. Let's see if it can figure out more things that are missing now when it has something to work with. Oh, doesn't work. Right. Still pretty nice improvement there. I think
Indeed.
there's another thing here. Yes. So we have 3548, and then we have the no. Yeah, it did sort it a little bit different because I knew there was too close to each other, or maybe the grape picker are all over. Oh, here we have something. So let's try this. See what it is. Again, no label defined in English nor Swedish. Oh, Tournet. So here we have a tool, and of course it has, or not of course, this one actually have a Wikipedia link in French, so we can go figure out what this is. Still, my French isn't that good, but I can sort of understand this, and there's also an image here. So it's sort of a turntable for sculptures.
Right.
So that's very good. So let's, now the question is, do we have something already called turntable? Probably. Table, record player, turntable, other things. Sometimes in English, these are called Lazy Susan. Let's subclass of a tool. Yes. I think we could even be more specific here. So we could go with, this is a subclass of a Lazy Susan. No, they should all be, or rather, let's look up Lazy Susan and see what this say. Lazy Susan. So this is a kind of furniture. Yeah, perhaps. Yes, more than a tool.
Indeed.
But I think these should be sort of connected because they're doing the same thing, but one is for food and one is for sculptures.
Oh, does it turn as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So you put your cheeses on there in the middle of the table and then you turn it around so everybody can reach.
I would actually add something like different from to just make it clear that they aren't the same thing.
Very good start. So we'll go here and say this is different from. And also so nobody comes along and merge these later on.
Exactly.
So it's different from that. And then this one will say it should be symmetric. So we should add this one over here. And now I'm doing several parallel things, which is not unusual because you start somewhere. Oh, doesn't show up. I guess I need to reload now because I'm doing several things at once. Yes, different from lazy systems. Maybe I'll keep tool here for now. Does anyone in the chat has a better name in English for this thing? I think I would call it in Swedish snurrplatta.
That seems a little basic. I imagine it has a very fancy word.
Probably, yes. So this would be a subclass of that. Because this is yeah. Let's see if it actually, if there's something called like, it might be. Sometimes you never know.
Yeah, there is plenty of things in Wikidata.
No. Yeah, the snurrstol. All right. Well, rather than adding something that might be wrong here, even though it's easy to revert, because this one seems to be a very specific thing, especially made for sculptures. I'm actually going to leave it for now and hope someone else picks this up. But that's some basic editing in Wikidata, and you should really try it out because it's quite easy once you get a hang of it, and a little bit addictive.
Yeah,
so
and if you're
yep.
Yeah, and if you're working at a GLAM, it's very likely that your GLAM actually has content in there as well.
In some ways, and perhaps not always this well modeled, because this was unusually well modeled, I think, from the National Museum.
Actually, we got a comment here from Andrew Lee who says that for cake decoration they call it turntable.
All right. So
for the food one.
Yeah, and I guess that's also separate from Lazy Susan then. So we will have very different kinds of them. If you want to go nuts and edit it, it's this item. So, but with that, I'm interested in seeing some timelines.
Yeah, I'm interested in making some timeline. Let's see. I bring up my screen. I just as Jan, I'm starting off on query.wikidata.org to do some visualization there, but I won't actually do the visualization here. As Jan showed you, there is a lot of options there for visualization, but I'm going to use this external tool called Histopedia that's especially made for timelines. But to actually have something to visualize here, I'm going to start off by querying for some data. I'm going to start on a similar to how Jan did it, autocomplete, getting the important stuff in there. I want to query for different type of works, like paintings, and so on, by a specific author or creator. A Swedish one, which did everything from plays to books and painting and so on. So I'm thinking we could get some diversity in among the contents and maybe being able to filter on it later on. So I will start with, let's use that control space. Author, maybe creator or something. Actually, this is another thing. So we're querying for author here, which is great for written works. But for paintings, for example, it's not actually that common. It's not a practice. So I will add an additional one. I will add creator. And let's see. it's the second one, and I'm using this pipe here to say that it's called a property path, to say that it should be this one or this one that targets my artist here. And I'm gonna go with,
So it's sort of an or statement. It doesn't need to have both.
exactly. We're saying it should be this statement or this statement. And I'm gonna go with August Stringberg. And let's just do it like that. I'm gonna add this service so we get some labels. Can do it like that, but we still need to do the selection, the item itself, and as Jan showed you, work followed by label here to actually get something that a human can read. Gonna run that to see what we get to begin with. We get a mix of labels here. They are missing the Swedish label.
No, they're missing
So we don't
English.
get it. No, isn't it the other way around? I got the English one, but I don't have the Swedish one.
You don't select for the Swedish.
Exactly. So I'm gonna make sure that it selects the English one if it got one, or fallbacks to the Swedish one. Especially as this is a Swedish creator, he will have a lot of the labels in Swedish. And we should have a lot more labels like that. 200
but
results.
things are missing. That's interesting.
Yeah, some are still missing. Let's see. We want to do timeline here, so we actually want to check out something about that has a time concept to it. And I'm thinking when it was created. So the work. Let's see. And that should be Inception.
Mm-hmm. Especially
So
for paintings, I think Inception is right.
Yeah, I think it might, sometimes there might be something called start date, I think, but this should be the most
I'm thinking
common
for
one.
Wikipedia, it might be published.
Right, true. Let's see what we get.
Yep.
I'm just gonna call this Inception. See how many work we lose. 24 only. Let's continue with that for now. And let's see. I actually want to label in a different way here. I'm gonna break out this service here. It's a little more flexible. If you are used to Wikidata, you have seen this service a lot of times. You can actually simplify your queries here as well. So if we don't want to use this thing, which is just work label, we actually want to call it title instead. We can do so. Then inside of this service, we would write work rdfs label and call it title. And it should do the same thing. It didn't this time. Let's see what I did wrong.
Typo in title.
Yes, I did it in the wrong language. Work title. I did the same mistake here as Jan did. I filtered for Inception, but I haven't selected it.
It's an easy one to make.
It's a very easy one to make. So now we got a bit of dates here. We got something to start with. I'm gonna take this query now. As Jan showed you, you have a lot of visualization options here. We got bar chart, line charts. I think those would work here. There's something called timeline as well. I'm not sure what that type of timeline is. But I'm gonna move it to this too. And I'm just gonna say, so there might be duplicate items. So I want to say that if there is, ignore those who are the same and the shared thing they would have is always the ID, what I am selecting as work here. So you're going to group them by that to have them merged. I can also map variables here. It's to make sure that when the items are visualized in this timeline, you can add things like their title, but you can also add things like a URL that happens if you click on it, you go there, and so on. So I'm just gonna add the title here first, because that's what we got now. We got the start date. We want the date here. I'm gonna copy exception in there. I don't want the end date because it's use that singular time. I click generate timeline, see what happens. And we get a timeline actually on the first try. So it's very, very basic right now. It displays the time and the title as we asked it to. And I can scroll along this and zoom, and it will, as I zoom out, it will remove items because it fails to display as many. But I can also see here in the bottom that there are more items there. So if I zoom in, they will appear again. But we can improve upon this. I'm thinking what Jan did, added an image. That would be first good addition. We just want the image when there is one, because I imagine the paintings would likely have one, but the other ones not so much. So let's get a work. Let's again ask for the image and make sure we select it. I'm gonna copy this, go back to this tool, and you find this tool on the following address in case I didn't share it earlier. I just realized. Okay, so we now got image again. We want to update our variables down here. It actually got one for image. We will just say image there. We want to generate a timeline again. And images start popping up. I think this would,
even
for
for
would
things
be...
that are not paintings.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure this is a script for play. And there seems to be an image of that script. This seems just to be a book. Or is it the painting? It might actually be a painting. Yeah, but we got a couple of paintings. As we zoom in, it adds more of them. Zoom out, it makes it different. Another thing that would be cool here is if we could filter on the type, I imagine. So we could filter out plays, we could filter out written work, and so on. That would be great, but that would require us to actually select it. And in Wikidata, what something is usually defined by instance of. So I'm just going to call that type. But if I want to use this in a filter, I also want it label. So I want to select type here in my label service. Get a label. And let's just call that type label. Something like that.
Do you need to add it to your selection?
Yes, that's the second time for me. Let's then get back to this editor. And we should also add it down in a section here that's called color codes and filter. And I want that it's both to be colored by and to being able to filtered by it. So adding it to both of them, gonna click generate timeline. Let's see what happens. And I also get this filter here.
Nice.
And everything in colors. So I could actually just do one of those. I only want the colors or I want the filters. But if you now scroll around here, we see everything got a different color based on the type. So we can filter on paintings here and it will remove those sort of things. We just want the plays. The play. We got one play with an image. We just found the. Let's see. So it tries to. We see 5. I imagine. Yes, it's just very close to those two, so it removes it. There is a lot of settings here to modify that type of things. But so we can have everything again. So we tried with a Swedish artist. We got quite a lot of items. Let's see if I run this here. What does it say? 29. Let's see if we change out the creator here to someone who created a lot of things. Let's say Vincent. Vincent van Gogh, of course. Created a lot of things and also changed his focus a little, I believe, in his career. So we got 1,000 results just here. Let's see if we can do 1,000 results in this. So this makes it really easy just to switch out things. We changed one thing and we can just reuse this tool over and over again. So even if you're working for a super small museum somewhere, you can just replace a queue number and get some data. Let's see, it seems to work. Almost or around 900 paintings, a couple of prints, lithograms, artistic tame. It's a little odd one here. Let's select the large ones and close this. Just to export, we can see a queue number here that we don't have this title. Again, one thing I didn't change in my query here is that we prefer the English label and then fallbacks to the Swedish one. So this way, by visualizing things, you can also notice things that are missing and that needs more work. You see a couple of famous paintings here. We can see that the self-portrait there was around the same time. Those two. And of course, there is a lot of works here, so we really need to zoom in to actually see everything, and it takes a while for the images to pop up. But if I zoom out again, we can actually see down here that it's darker where we got a lot of items. So there is plenty of things to explore here, and they just keep popping up if I zoom in. Let's see if that is one good example, I believe. Let's see if we can do the same thing for the query that Jan did for the map. So we have the same subset. That Jan used the map for, so we can just reuse that over and over. Because this is not limited to artists, we can have very different things here. So I'm gonna remove this first row, VDT, and do as Jan said, he said collection. So collection in a museum or archive or gallery. and then to Nationalmuseum, the National Museum of Sweden. And we still want pretty much the same things. Let's run that. And it takes a while. $3,000. I imagine the type label will mainly be paintings here. A watercolor painting, okay. But let's take this query then. Now, instead of artist creations, we actually got a museum collection. Let's just do the same thing. I only changed one row here. Generate timeline. Oh, that went fast. Yeah, we can see there are also sculptures and so on. We can see here actually the lower area is very interesting, that we can see this museum's collection from which time periods they have content.
Some things in
And
the 11th century.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine here it could be very interesting for GLAMs to visualize things like artistic themes and being able to filter on them rather than the type. We might try that one as well. But as I zoom in here, there are plenty of paintings. It's almost getting a little tricky with this many items. So let's try that. Instead of having this type, we want the artistic themes, because type was mostly paintings. Artistic or generic, I think it's would be the best one here. I will keep calling it type. I know it's not accurate, but then I don't need to switch out my labels here as well. Gonna pick this query, bring it over, paste it in. Because I didn't actually change the name of the label, I don't need to change anything here. I'm gonna click generate timeline. Let's see what happens. Portrait, landscape art, religious art. Let's see, here it would be really cool if we could see the color down here as well. Let's see if we zoom in on a particular year, or at least decade, which was the most common here. Let's bring out, there is portraits, which is also the highest quantity. No, things jumped a little. Where am I? Could that be right?
No,
that
that's
can't be right. That's an error some date. Again, we discover items which we might need to give an edit to make sure it's correct.
Yeah, it seems someone just took the 2 last digits of the year instead of like 1959 or something like that.
Yeah. Seems likely. And I imagine most people would actually need to, in case you're working on a particular collections, I imagine you would need to add data as well. If you would be familiar with this collection, I imagine you would see things that are actually missing. But here there is some self-portraits. It's the 4th one. This actually gives us a bit of statistics as well. What could this be? Animal art is of course a linear. Cool. Let's see if we can track this one down here. Oh, it's gonna scroll out. If we can actually make an improvement here. Let's see. I can't actually find it here, but that should be the title of the work.
You could just sort your query for date, because that one.
Yes, indeed.
And
In my
you can just press the button there on the column.
Oh right, I'm gonna show this for the use case. We can actually sort a Wikidata query here if you want to sort a table to find these type of things. So we want to order it by inception. Run that. Let's see if we get the highest state or the lowest state or the earlier one. Yes, so here we got it. That's the work. This is a painting. Let's see. It says 1st century. I mean, the century we can assume. So even if we do not have let's see what this source says. It claims that the source is Wikimedia Commons. So yes, it's actually errorsome here as well. I imagine it could even be errorsome than in the GLAM collection, because I imagine this has been automatically uploaded. But we're gonna remove that. We know that it is very likely that it's been painted during his. Is this one where I say it's circa?
Yep.
And interfere. Can I spell that one? Interfered from?
Inferred.
Inferred. Based on related statements found on the following item. Right. And let's see if it has a depict statement. It does.
Yes.
I'm gonna copy that Q number and essentially claim that it's based on his life, so to say, hoping for the best. It's also because I claim it's circa as well.
Mm-hmm.
It complains a little bit. Sourcing. It actually don't seem to have this particular one, but it's a rather common one, so I'm gonna ignore this issue here. No, actually, it's.
Should it be on the reference?
It should be under reference.
Yes.
It's a very valid one. Let's see if I can spell this the second time. No, I can't.
INF.
Thank you very much. And that is what it should look like. Great. And I think with that edit, phone thanks to the timeline, we will need to wrap this up.
Mm-hmm. This outside of this is also a great find to actually circle back to the GLAM institution, because it came from an error in their data set.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine the National Museum in Sweden actually sometimes looked at the data, how it changed, and brought it back.
Yeah.
So hopefully they will discover that we claim something else.
Yeah. And these are things that are very hard to see in your tables or in your data set as they are, but when you visualize them, they pop out like, hey, why is this thing back 1,000 years earlier than everything else?
Indeed. Same with the maps. It's very easy to spot things there that are off in an odd location or things like that.
Yeah, you're expecting everything to be in one country or something, and then something pops up in the other part of the world, or perhaps on the coordinate 0.0 because there's some error somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. So
Great.
that's it for this session. There is a new hop-in channel for Wikimedia questions. So if you have further questions along this, that will be a great place to get hold of help. And of course, you see our usernames here, and you can always reach out to us on Twitter. I'm Jan_Ainali, and Albin is Albin PC Larsson.
Yes.
And
okay.
see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you very much.